好，那今天他要讲的是治疗的魔术。Let's welcome Professor Joel Stocker.
Thank you. As Dr. Wong said, my name is Joel Stocker. You can call me Joel. And today's topic, we're going to talk about magic and healing. And is your English pretty good? I hope that you can follow me fine. If you have any questions, as Dr. Wong said, Chinese or English, both are okay. I understand some Chinese. Japanese is also okay. Okay? All right. Now, when we think of magic, in many ways, I think we can see it as being defined as being the opposite of science. Right? What is, or you could say it the other way around, what is science? It is not magic. It is something concrete and real and effective. And magic is something that we believe, but it's probably not real, it's not true, it's not effective. Right? So let's think about that today in the relationship between magic and science and what magic really is. If we think of traditional societies that all people of the world come from through history, prehistory, and what we're living with up to today in the relationship between magic and science. Okay. In fact, even today, there's not that much biomedical science being practiced around the world, even though we see in many advanced economic countries the dominance, right, the real power of biomedical science everywhere, right? Biotechnology, pharmaceutical companies being some of the largest corporations in the world. But in fact, about 80% of medical practice is still traditional medicine. It's not biomedical, right? And a lot of it has a relationship to magic. Whether we're talking about magic or science, when we're thinking of healing, of taking care of each other, our bodies and our minds, there are four basic qualities that we see across all cultures. A shared worldview, the practitioner, the medicine person, the person who cures or heals, is someone with certain personal qualities that the patient believes in and that the patient feels provides effectiveness. There's a positive patient expectation. This is related to point 2, point 3, positive expectation by the patient that I will get better. Right? In what kind of situation, what kind of person do you have to be as a healer in what kind of a situation to make people believe that you can help them? And a mastery that empowers the patient, which means a control over reality. A doctor, a traditional healer, will probably give you some sense that they are in charge, they are in control, they can reorder the world for you when you are in disorder and help you recover from an illness. Okay, and typically in medical anthropology there's a division between curing and healing, where curing is treating symptoms that are very specific, targeting those symptoms using specific invasive techniques, surgery and drugs, most likely. And sometimes it's called a naturalistic medicine. Impersonal forces go into the body, invade the body, bacteria, viruses, microbes of various kinds, and we attack them with chemicals or sometimes with surgery. Healing, on the other hand, this is usually associated with traditional societies, so-called traditional societies, restoring the body to wholeness within a community. Right? Diagnosis treatment of a whole person within social relationships. There's some kind of a misfortune. It could be health related, or it could be just bad luck economically, something like that as well. These are all seen usually as being related to each other and to specific individuals in the society and their good or bad behavior or good or bad spirits affecting you. spirits in the spirit world, or ancestor spirits, tree spirits, and so on. And these are personalistic forces, right? So they could be spirits, gods, humans, many different sources. Okay, here's a little bit more detail about traditional medicine, healing, and Western biomedicine, and what's called curing. Okay. So with traditional medicine, especially, it's very common for people to believe that you become ill, you experience a problem, discomfort, or illness when you have lost your spirit or your spirit is in trouble. And the shaman, the healer, might, very commonly in many societies, will dig into your body or suck on your body and take some object out of your body. So it's very empirical. It's a very material, physical thing, oftentimes. That they'll show the person. It'll be covered in blood. Oftentimes it'll be covered in blood as well. It could be a stone or a piece of flesh. Often it's like a liver from a cow or pig or something like that, a little piece of liver or something, covered in some chicken blood or something that has been hidden on the body of the shaman. Okay. So attaining wholeness is important, and it's mind, body, emotions all working together in social relationships between people. Western biomedicine tries to isolate the individual from social relationships, takes people out of their social context, puts them into the biomedical context in the hospitals, and looks to restore the patient who has been attacked by some external force, right? Often invisible external force that we can only see with biotechnology, with microscopes and so on. So it's an invasion, it's a battle, a war that must be fought and won. Okay, so looking at curing and healing, can we see a division between magic, irrational thinking, science, rational thinking, the groups, superstitions versus individuals, scientists, for example, rational individuals observing the truth of nature, faith versus fact, spiritual versus biological wellness? We'll come back to this at the end, think about this some more after I tell you a story about one healer. Okay, so is this a false division between these two, or is it more complicated than that? Okay, so magic. What is magic? Magic is basically anything that can explain why someone has gotten sick and how they will be healed and whether they have been returned to well-being, to wellness or not. And it deals with any kind of misfortune, including health problems. But as I said before, it could be other problems as well. And there are various ritual procedures that will produce some kind of physical, sensory effects that involve, the five senses of, smelling, sight, hearing, and so on. And that's one way we see is the shaman pulling something out of the body. That's very sensory, right? Here it is, right? So it goes from being very abstract, talking about spirits, to being very physical and material and concrete, pulling some physical object out of somebody's body like a surgeon in biomedicine would do. Okay, so there are various types of shamans, types of traditional healers, and various names you might have heard before. Shamans, shaman healers, sorcerers, witchcraft, right? Witch doctors, and so on. So a lot of this is about the battle over good and evil. Good people and bad people, good spirits and bad people, bad spirits. Things that have gone wrong in society. All right, so let's review. Effective treatment requires a shared worldview. Personal qualities of the practitioner. The practitioner has to be a special person, often a very charismatic person, someone who would be like a television personality in Taiwan today. Someone who's happy and smiling and has some energy that you feel and you think, wow, this person is special, this person is nice and unique. And then, so the patient's expectations about the practitioner and based on the worldview of the community are very important for getting better as well. And then the mastery, the control over reality, the feeling of control, restoring control is very important. Okay, so it requires faith, it requires expectations. The patient or victim has to believe in the shaman believes in his or her own effectiveness, the community supports these views. So is there any room, if we're talking about shared views, shared values being very important, what is the role of the individual and individual belief? How much room is there for agency, for individual agency, for people to think their own thoughts and to change culture and to be skeptical, to not believe? And all right, if you don't believe, even if you are a practitioner, say you're a shaman or a doctor, even if you don't believe in what you are doing, can you still heal people? Can you still take care of people, cure people? It's another question. Okay, here's a story of Kesalid, a Kwakiutl Indian of British Columbia, Canada, back in the 19th century, who wrote an autobiography, wrote his story of his life, right? That was taken up by a famous American anthropologist in the early 20th century, was kind of, he said, found by him, named Franz Boas. And then from Franz Boas's discovery and writing about this famous man who did not believe in shamanism, who became a successful shaman, French anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss wrote an article in his book, Structural Anthropology, about this case, about Kesalid. Okay, so he didn't believe this person named Kesalid, a man, right, living among the Kwakiutl Indians of the northwest coast of North America. He was very skeptical. He thought that these people, these shamans who were healers, were like magicians. Right? They didn't really heal. They just did tricks on people to get benefits from those people, you know, free food or objects of various kinds, to be seen as a successful person, a powerful person. So he was watching the group of Kwakiutl shamans in his community, and he told them that he was going to watch them closely and see if they really are doing something real, really helping people, curing people, or if they were just doing tricks like a magician, right? And so what did they do? What did the shamans do? They asked Kesalid to join them and to become an apprentice, a student of shamanism himself. He had a 4-year apprenticeship with no pay. And he learned various things, including the tricks. He learned the tricks. So very similar to an anthropologist doing field work, going out into a community to study them, living with them for a long time. Kesalid learned about the hidden side of shamanism, the things that shamans don't show other people. Okay, so he learned many different things, how to hide things and reveal things, simulate, to pretend, to faint, to fall down and faint, to lose consciousness, from the force or power of a god or spirit, to sing the sacred songs, to make people throw up, right, to deliver babies, and to rely on dreams and interpret other people's dreams, which he calls spying, listening to people's gossip. but it's called interpreting dreams. And learning how to hide feathers in his mouth and spit them up with blood from an animal to show that this is what was harming you, madam or sir. Now you are well. So he obviously sees it, the way he describes these things, he sees this as being fake, right? So his first patient, when he is still an apprentice, he's still a student, this is in his first year, right? He is called by the family of a sick person. The sick person has dreamed that Kesalid is his healer. This is my man. This is the person who's going to cure me or heal me. And he becomes successfully healed after the feathers and blood are pulled out of the man by Kesalid. He uses this technique and the person gets better. And Kesalid believes that it is because the patient believed strongly in his dream that he would be his healer. This is why the person was cured. It's belief. It's belief. And Kesalid, even as an apprentice, he begins to grow in his reputation. He begins to become a powerful shaman himself. People start believing in him. And then later, even he continues to be an apprentice, to study, and he finds a different group of the Northwest Pacific Coast Canadian Indians who he goes to and studies. Right? He visits the neighboring Koskomo Indians. He's in the Kwakiutl tribe. These are Koskomo Indians. Their shamans do something different. They just, when they find something, they find the problem in the body and cure the body, they spit on their hands and then show the spit. So they don't do as much. They don't have as much physical material. Okay, and he wonders, what is this really effective? I know my technique in the Kwakiutl tribe seems to be effective, even if I don't believe in it. What about the Koskomo shamans? But he watches a Koskomo shaman fail to cure a patient, and then he tries to cure the same patient. The patient requests his services, right? And the sick woman says, "I'm cured." So the Kwakiutl method seems to be more powerful than the Koskomo method. This makes him wonder, is maybe, it's relative. Maybe there's some better and some worse kinds of tricks. Okay. So what standards should we use to talk about healing that has failed or has succeeded when we're talking about magical spiritual curing? Kesalid says that the Koskomo method is relatively more false. Okay, so the Kwakiutl method might be fake, but this is more fake. This is even fakier, right? Okay, so he's wondering, are there different levels of dishonesty? Are there different levels of fakeness? Okay, so when explaining the cause and effect here, let's look at the Koskomo shaman's theory. Kesalid says that they believe that any illness can be cured by getting a hold of the spirit of the sickness, which has a spirit and a body like a human's. The body of the sickness, the spirit body that causes the sickness, when that leaves the person's body, the person is cured. So you don't need to show a lot, because you want to show that the spirit has disappeared, the evil spirit has disappeared. It's not in the body anymore. So they just show a little bit of material reality. Okay. The Koskomo want to hear from Kesalid about how he cured the woman. How did you do it, Kesalid? You have a superior technique, perhaps. But he won't tell them. He says an apprentice can't teach, so I'm sorry I can't tell you. Right, so in a way, he's protecting his tribes, his group's secrets. Right? He's participating in the practitioner culture, the shaman culture of his group, and protecting the secrets from this other group. So is he beginning to believe? do you think? He's beginning to believe that maybe there's some truth, there's some power in magic? Or just power in the community, maybe? That his shaman brothers will hurt him if he tells the secrets of the group. Okay, and then he goes on to, he becomes more and more famous, and people call on him to cure others, to cure them and cure their family members. And he is finally called upon by a different groups, another tribe, not the Kosovo, not the Kwakiutl, but a neighboring group who has heard of him and heard of his powers to heal. And so one of the shamans, more powerful, more respected shaman, says, let him come here, show us his powers, his ways. Let's see if he's real. Let's see if he's really got some powerful stuff here. So he further strengthens his reputation after curing several people that not even the elder shaman in this group of shamans in this other community could cure. This elder shaman who has challenged Keselit to come and show his powers of healing is shamed. He feels shame that he could not heal someone who Keselit could heal. Right? And he's lost the respect of his people. And he asks Keselit, again, the other community's people ask, how did you do it? Right? Why are you such a great healer? And again, he does not explain. He keeps the secrets of his tribe. Okay. And the man, this man does confess to Keselit. Keselit says in his autobiography, I was greedy. I only wanted what those patients had, those sick people. At least I called them sick people. I did something to them because I wanted to get something from them. Possessions, respect, and so on. And then later he goes mad and dies. Right? So it's a sad story. Okay, there's something in medical anthropology called the explanatory model. This is how people explain what is wrong with them and how they should be treated, their expectations about how they should be treated, and for measuring, a standard of, am I now well or not well? Right? And these are called explanatory models. The idea being that every group, every individual has a different way of looking at the whole process of discovering what's wrong, diagnosis, treatment, and becoming well again. Okay. So Keselit the shaman's EM, his explanatory model. Keselit has seen only one shaman who he believes can cure people, and this is someone who sucks the evil spirit or source of harm out of the person's body. He does not allow those who are made well to pay him, and I've never seen him laugh. So his definition, his explanation is that this person is effective because he's a serious man who doesn't laugh about things and doesn't take any money. So there's no greed involved. So the person has a pure heart, is an honest person, and probably is really helping people. Right? But it's not revealed here how much does he really believe that the sucking part, sucking the source of the harm out of the body is real or not. Is it more an honest attitude or just sucking out of the body? Okay. The old shaman's view. The shaman from the other tribe was convinced that pathological conditions have a cause which can be discovered, and that a system of interpretation involving personal inventiveness. Okay, this sounds a lot like something that Levi-Strauss, the anthropologist, is putting onto this person, right? Was the shaman really thinking about pathological conditions, system of interpretation? These are the words of the anthropologist becoming the voice of this old shaman man. So we might want to be a little skeptical about this view, but the basic idea is that there are bad things that happen to people, And you need to create a story about what has happened to the person to convince the believer, the person you want to believe in you, that something has harmed them, this is what has harmed them, and this is how I'm going to cure you. They have to believe in the story to be cured. Public participants, explanatory model, the people, the family and other people in the community around the healer. When they believe the shaman has successfully extracted the harmful substance or spirit from a sufferer, the participants, the public participants, in the cure experience, show an enthusiasm that's both intellectual and emotional, right? With their hearts and their minds, they're believing. When they are satisfied, right? In the healer has been powerful, has done his or her job, then that's the end of it, right? Then someone has been healed, that is well-being. Patience, patient explanatory model. The sick person may or may not experience improvement. He or she will generally follow what the group believes. We can assume that it's a little bit more complicated than this, but this is from a short article by Levi-Strauss. The basic idea, though, is that there are different points of view depending on where you are in the healing circumstance or situation. And Claude Levi-Strauss's view, the anthropologist explanatory model or view, in a society where many people experience insecurity, psychosomatic problems are common and shamanism is useful. So this unites society, biology, and psychology in the anthropologist view of why people do what they do in relation to healing. Okay. So he says that there may be some practical effect of shamanistic practice, but the individual sick person is not really important. That's not the important part of the story of healing. It's the least important part of the system of healing. Okay. So he concludes that Caselid, why did he become a successful shaman? Why was his model of healing successful? Is because he could cure his patients who believed in him. Right? The patients could believe in him. It wasn't because he was a great shaman. He became a great shaman by healing. It was because he cured his patients because he had become a great shaman. So it was his reputation, it was the community's belief in him that helped him heal people. So the other shaman, that old shaman who eventually died, he had lost the faith of the people and therefore could not be a good healer anymore, according to Levi-Strauss's view. Okay, so returning to the larger question, is there really such a big difference between magic and science as modern people seem to believe oftentimes, especially biomedical doctors and supporters of biomedicine? And how variable are different kinds of notions of well-being? Okay, let's keep that in mind. Okay, so according to Levi-Strauss, the basic human condition is cognitive and symbolic and linguistic, right? He's looking at how the storytelling of the shaman and the symbology, right, the using the feathers and blood and all of that is effective at a physical body level, at a mental and psychological level, and at a social level as well, through the use of language and performance. And the reason why is because there are always going to be big unknowns about the world, things we can't deal with, things we can't understand, things we can't comprehend. And so we always need a little bit of magic, a little bit of belief. So what does this imply? What does this tell us about science as well? Does this give us some perspective on science as well? Is there a little magic in science? Okay. So, according to Levi-Strauss, there's a merging, right, an intersection between combining, right, of emotion and intellect to make the meaningless meaningful. And it's a language that helps to translate the meaningless and the unknown and the fear of dying, the fear of being outcast, of being kicked out by your community, the fear of disorder. It's a socially authorized translation of these types of phenomena, of these kinds of fears. So this is a fairly psychological and mental theory. All right, now I want to spend the last about 13 minutes in small group discussion. If we have time at the end, I'll go around and talk to you. And I want you to split up into 5 groups. So each group is going to be 6 or 7 people. And I will assign you by area one of these questions. And then I want you to come up with some answers to these questions. Okay? And based on your personal experience and based on what I just talked about right now. Okay, so the first one, and there's some review questions that you can ponder, that you can think about later as well in your own time, afterwards. But the first one is about well-being. Are ideas of well-being different in every culture? Individually and in groups, experiences of well-being, of what is considered good and healthy, successful, and so on. Number 2, can you give some examples of differences between patients and doctors in the way they perceive, the way they see, the way they explain the process of healing, from diagnosis, treatment, to getting better? Number 3, might there be differences between doctors, even among, and when I say doctors here, I mean biomedical doctors. Even among biomedical doctors, are there differences between them, perhaps, in their explanatory models, the way they explain healing? Number 4, or is medicine so specialized that patients, medical professionals, and the public must all be believers in the magic of healing? Within the biomedical context, doctors healing, is there so much specialization within biomedicine that between doctors, between different specializations, between the public and doctors, patients and doctors, is there any kind of clear division? Do you see divisions? Do you see big differences in the way that they explain things, going back to the way that they explain what is happening and how it can be cured, how it can be helped? So much so, so many differences, such big differences that magic is necessary, that we have leaps of faith, that we have to rely on magical thinking to believe in people and what they are doing. This is probably the most difficult question. Number 5, what is Lévi-Strauss's perspective on mind and culture in relation to universalism and difference? He's thinking in very big terms. He uses the example of Casalid and other examples like that, very specific examples, but he's always thinking of the big picture, structure of reality, right? That's between universalism and difference. The particular, right, cultural particular, and human universals, right? And what do you think, according to what I was talking about today, what I said, what's his perspective on mind and culture in relation to universalism and difference or particularism? All right, so we don't have too much time. Let's do question 1. 6 or 7 people here. Yes?
They are already divided into 5 groups.
Wonderful. Okay.
So you can just ask them to stay in your own.
Okay, so where's group 1? Okay, so group 1, everyone should be together if you're in that group. Group 2? Group 3? 4? 5? Okay, good. Okay, so let's think in your individual communities here, your individual groups, about each of these questions. See if we can come up with some answers. Okay, and then if we have time, we'll report them to the larger group later.